Yo, we're live again, yeah. I think you should be able to hear me now. But I'm just waiting to check. Come on, man. Is it working? Is it not? That's a real question. How do I even go to my own thing on here? I don't even know. Okay. Am I live? Don't fucking do this to me, bro. So I can't hear anything on this. But it did say... Yo, it says it's working here. Why is there no audio on the YouTube? Audio on the YouTube. Yo, do you ever watch? Oh, it's me watching. Lol. I can hear it. Yo, do you ever watch? Oh, it's me watching. Lol. I can hear it. Yeah. Okay. Let's just do something on set. Oh, it obviously is, isn't it, man? Flipping it. Yo, whoever's watching, actually, never mind. I just want to know the audio's working. Because when I go on YouTube here, it's not working. Okay, now it is. Yeah? Yeah. Oh my days, man. Oh my days. What a flipping... This is why partly I just don't bother, man. Okay, yeah. It's working on Twitch as well. Flipping it, man. That was quite drawn out. Yeah, if you're just joining, basically I've had like 15 minutes of pissing about because there was no mic and audio and this and that, man. But we're good. Lamenting, yeah? Let's just Google what that means again. Express passionate grief about, express regret or disappointment about something. Yeah. Sounds about right. I don't know if I should wait till someone joins, man, but then I feel like I'm like competing for their attention, which is a bit weird, man. But yeah, I mean on YouTube it's just you know, it'll you can watch it after whatever people also can talk in that way. Yeah. Alright, cool. So what I wanted to do actually was have a look at a few things. Yeah, I guess if you're watching this, there's no harm in sharing it, because you'll be one of the few. I was trying to get like an interview with Norman Finkelstein, and to no avail, I would say. Shout out to the guy who's sort of organising it, you know, he was definitely trying. Just trying to share my screen. Yeah. Oh, bro, what? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to a talk that he's doing here. On the off chance that he's available after, I don't think so. But I wanted to double check a few things because I listened to a lot of what he said. And I thought, okay, if I get 15 minutes to ask him something, I mean, the guy has an email back who was organising it and whatnot, so I'm pretty sure it's not happening. Yeah, so I don't know. I wanted to throw a few questions together. I have an idea of what they are already, but yeah. And yeah, I mean, I kind of wouldn't want to share them because I feel like they are good questions. But then again, you know, it's not like many people are going to watch or whatever, and I might not, probably not going to be able to ask them anyway, so why not? So anyway, I'm going in like 45, 50 minutes. So I just thought I'd hone in on these 3 questions that I wrote down and just see on the 5% chance that I do get to ask it them and record it. Highly doubt it. 5%. That I, refined the question and definitely quoted him correctly. So yeah. Got a few screenshots on my phone. I don't think you guys are getting audio from this. Oh, you don't think so? I don't think you guys are getting audio from this. Nah, Here's another flipping problem then. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, okay. If you share the screen, it doesn't necessarily give the audio, maybe? Present, share screen. Oh, yeah. Okay. If you share the screen, also share the audio. Come on, man. So you guys should get the audio. Let me know if you're getting it. If you're just joining.
Hezbollah kept saying, almost to the point of a plea. Almost to the very unusual for Nasrallah.
Yeah, okay. You guys got audio, yeah? Can you just, do you mind just writing it, just giving a thumbs up or whatever if you do? Come on, man, we've battled many issues here. Don't be doing us like this now. Okay, I haven't really got anything open, so I don't know why it would be so slow, man. Try restarting it.
Total collapse, because then we'll get blamed for the humanitarian catastrophe just at the edge of the precipice. A starvation plus diet. And I remember I was in Gaza, I can't remember which year now, but I remember talking to the proverbial cab driver. He said, and he had voted for Hamas.
Right,
he said, so the world wasn't ready for it. And so he regretted the vote. So when you say the people turned against Hamas,
he had a question here about Nasrallah, and this I just do not agree with, man.
You know,
I don't know if it's a question worth asking though, but I just do not agree with him at all.
The late leader of Hezbollah, he was a voracious reader, and he read the Israeli press every day. He knew everything that was going on in Israel, every day. And you can see, because
when he talks about his death, I just don't agree.
Listened to his speeches. He was clearly very influenced by Professor Chomsky. They met.
It's going to skip forward, isn't it?
Sucking in information.
I need to go soon.
Conception of the conflict.
So I'm trying. So I've got 3 kind of
Israel
questions.
Is just a extension, and you could see from his speeches, but he was very smart. A gray beard. Mm-hmm. He was well in his 60s. He was large. He wasn't on the front line. What they did was, the Israelis and the Americans, and probably the British and the French and the Germans, because they were all working together to destroy Hezbollah. What they did achieve was the vision. he had a vision. He had the breadth of life experience, which is irreplaceable, as I said, in politics. 32 years, the head of Hezbollah. And he had the stature such that if he meets with the leaders of Iran, he's not just his own. So whoever replaces him will, for the foreseeable future, be just a pawn of the Iranians and will not have any independent vision of his own. So I think the long-term consequences of his assassination are very significant. The short-term, first of all, they don't have that many choices, Hezbollah. I knew their strategy from the get-go because I've studied the past. Now, of course, the past is not necessarily the present. History doesn't repeat itself. And people learn from the past, so they make adjustments. But the past is not a bad guide. It's not a bad guide. And I knew exactly I said it over and over again in interviews, what was going to happen, that Israel was going to carry on one of its high-tech murder sprees, which it is expert at bombing central Beirut. Why? No reason. I mean, no military reason. I know what the political reason is. The political reason is obviously to terrorize the Lebanese population, so they turned against Hezbollah. That's the goal, which they may be successful at.
I thought this was a very good podcast actually as well.
And then what's going to happen? Israel wants to discredit Hezbollah.
Twice.
It will keep bombing and bombing and bombing. Hezbollah will fire the rockets back because Israel wins in the air war. That's a no-brainer. But Israel loses in the ground war. So if they keep firing the rockets at Israel, Netanyahu, the pressure builds on. I know them very well. I doubt there's anybody in the world who's read that literature as closely as myself. They have a historic mission. They are the agents, as they saw it. They are the agents of socialist revolution. There is no cognizance whatsoever of dying for the cause. Rosa Luxemburg, in one of her letters, she has a very extensive correspondence. And in one of her letters to a friend, she says, when I die, I want it to be in a street fight, at my post, or in prison. That's what she said. And she absolutely believed it. And she actually did die in all three. She was in prison during World War I. She was then released. She was in a street fight, and they murdered her, smashed her skull, and so forth. Humongous mountain. And it had a deep hole in the ground.
I'm going to skip a bit in it.
And you saw their spacious
just because I'm looking for a particular thing.
And I was told at the time, I'm not a military and so forth. Why would he go there? He would go to the mountain.
Here we go.
Why would he go to the Dahya? Israel has been bombing the Dahya all week. And everybody knows that the Dahya is filled with spies, agents, and so forth. Why would he go there? He would go to the mountain. It's like deep in the ground of this mountain. Why would he go? And then it slowly occurred to me. Number one, all of his comrades had been killed at that point. All of the people he had struggled with for his entire adult life are now dead. Number two, he had command responsibility. He was the general secretary. So all the setbacks that they suffered in the past 2 weeks, he had to accept that he was, as general secretary, in part responsible. Number three, I think he was exhausted. 32 years as the head of Hezbollah. Every day a new crisis. Always Israel is looking to assassinate him. Not being able to walk freely outside in the fresh air. I think he was tired. And I think he wanted to die among his people. And the Dahya was known as a stronghold for Hezbollah. And I think it was a choice. I don't think Israel... Look, its technical capabilities...
He wanted to die, yeah. This I don't, agree with, man. The wording in it.
And the Dahya was known as a stronghold for Hezbollah. And I think it was a choice. I don't think Israel... Look, its technical capabilities were on display and they were very good, though I would attach a caveat to it. It wasn't just Israel. It was the Pentagon. It was the U.S.
Do you guys think this is the internet or what?
It was the British. It was the Germans. It was all the regional, the Jordanian intelligence, to the extent that you can, that's not an oxymoron. The Saudi intelligence, that is an oxymoron.
Not too sure. We're just looking at refining some questions that I had. The playback speed on that. So that's 720 years old, isn't it? Yeah, it can't be that.
Of them, who's all of them, as high. I know this will sound hagiographic, and
hagiographic. That is a word I don't know, so I'd love to hear what it means.
It just means hagiography is the life of the saints. So when we talk about hagiography, it means putting somebody on a pedestal like a saint. And I said, I know it may sound hagiographic, but I had too much faith in the capacity of Hezbollah to withstand the West. I remember, I'm always happy to admit when I'm wrong, because as Bertrand Russell said, he says he gets a special satisfaction by being shown he's wrong, because it means I'm getting closer to the truth.
I empathize with that.
And so you should be gratified when you're shown to be wrong.
Just as it's nice to learn a new word.
You learned excursus also. When I spoke to Professor Chomsky on occasion about these issues, by the way, Professor Chomsky had a very high regard for Said Nasrallah, very high regard for him. But he would say, I don't believe Hezbollah is a strategic threat to Israel. I don't think that's true. And I thought, well, no, Chomsky's known for his pessimism, the voice of doom and gloom. But now I have to say, I think he was right. And I realized to myself, I was wrong for the following reason. I know this is going to sound like the biggest digression on God's earth, but I will get back to my point.
We want all the digressions. They're good.
I had a brilliant friend in grade school. His name was Mark Cohn. He died from cancer at an early age. He went to MIT, and he had a stupendous mind. He ended up being the chief technology officer for his assassination. He happened to be a very frank speaker, which made him unique to myself. Of course they were defeated, because there are 10,000 Mark Holmes out there. How could Hezbollah, it's a non-state actor, how could they compete with the resources, the quantity of mines arrayed against them, the 10,000 Mark Holmes in the Pentagon, in MI6 in the UK, in Germany? I realized I wasn't realistic. They couldn't have prevailed. And Nasrallah, in the last speech before his assassination, he happened to be a very frank speaker, which made him unique among political leaders. There was a great leader of what was called the PAIGC in a little tiny country in Africa called Guinea-Bissau. And he famously said, the test of a leader. But when it wasn't that part, he was very forthright. And his last speech, he said, quote, we have to remember, they have the technological edge, referring to Israel and the United States. They have the technological edge. It was true. They couldn't have prevailed. And I believe at the end, because it's a part of the Muslim religion, but it's also part of the Western tradition. We have give me liberty or give me death.
Yes, well, I don't really.
The most sacred figure in philosophy is who? It's Socrates. And remember, everybody was telling Socrates to flee. Save yourself, flee. He said, I won't do it. And I think that was Nasrallah. He didn't want to die a coward. He did what Socrates did. Socrates drank the hemlock. Nasrallah went to the Dahya knowing he was going to be assassinated.
I don't agree with that. Sorry, I'm just writing them off in my notes. So he's saying Nasrallah went to the Dahya knowing he would be assassinated.
Went to the Dahya knowing he was going to be assassinated. So I certainly understand you when you say it's hard to comprehend. It's hard for me to comprehend. I cling to life. Mm-hmm. I cling to life. I'm not going to deny that.
I don't agree with that at all.
If you ask me, do I have raw physical courage? No. But raw physical courage on its own is limited. A soldier of fortune has raw physical courage. Adolf Hitler, in 1922, it was called the beer garden putsch. They said when they were trying to overthrow the government very prematurely, they said he had raw courage. He did. So I respect the raw physical courage. By the way, so did Gandhi. That's why Gandhi takes a lot more courage, raw physical courage, to engage in nonviolence than he said that, look, you're on the battlefield. You're there, I'm here. 50-50 on the battlefield.
But we're looking for this.
Smiling and cheerfully to bits. Nobody really knows the real Gandhi. I've studied him. You're going to die. That's what a satyagraha, a follower. The satyagrahas, eyes our own sense of, in the immortal words of Gloria Gaynor, I will survive. The king, the night before he died. If you ever listen to
I don't know this.
goes, he's in the church. One
Is that it then?
range bombers, they weren't coming back. So had depth. He had wisdom. He was ruthless. And I'm not going to dispute it because some people are going to say, yeah, what about what he did in Syria? And I'll say, yeah, it's true. It's true. But I think there's a loss. I didn't see that now to go all the way back to 2002. I did not see that in Dr. NTC. We began this whole conversation with you. I saying he knew he was going to get killed. They all got killed. Every leader was assassinated. Before him, there was the head of, or after, yeah, no, before him, was a blind leader. He was in a wheelchair.
Sheikh
he's the head
Yassin,
of,
I think they're talking about.
Hamas. You know his name? Sheikh
Yassin,
Yassin? I can't remember now. That's so long ago already. He was assassinated. I thought to myself, why do you choose a political leader who's physically blind? Not smart. You got to read. You got to study. And I feel the same thing with Sinwar. How could his range not be?
Okay, anyway, that's sufficient. Basically, he said, I think it was a choice. Nasrullah went to the Dahiya knowing he would be assassinated. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that was one, wasn't it? Chose to die. Yeah, so that was one. Okay, there's another quick video that I wanted to check where he said something similar. No, sorry, not similar at all. something along one of the questions I wanted to ask, basically. Just trying to find it now on my phone. It's a picture that I took. Where is it? Where are we, bro? Ah, here we are. Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the videos, some of the people he sort of does videos with, like, there's just such a mix, you know. People with, you know, very few subs, and obviously those with loads as well. He's with this sort of Asian guy, I can't remember his name. Alright, maybe we could just search it.
For a very simple reason. I'm not a good creative writer. I'm a good expository writer. And the rise and fall was too much dependent on having, which are devoid of adverbs, devoid of adjectives. Every sentence is just subject, verb, object. When that's the stuff of your mental imagination. The writing can't but deteriorate. That's why lawyers are notoriously horrible writers, because all their nature. I don't. I'm a city boy, and the kinds of metaphors and the range of my metaphors, and I also am not knowledgeable in the sciences, the natural sciences. So the range of my capacity for metaphor and simile is very, very narrow. And if you spend your whole life, which I unfortunately did, fortunately or unfortunately, I believe it's both. If you spend your whole life reading very dry documents, which are devoid of adverbs, devoid of adjectives, every sentence is just subject, verb, object. When that's the stuff of your mental imagination. The writing can't but deteriorate. That's why lawyers are notoriously horrible writers, because all they're reading are briefs. All they're reading are briefs.
I have to tell you, I did find the book's writing to be different from your other work, and I quite liked the understated nature of it. Yeah.
I don't like it, though. I have to, from what you wrote to me, it was interesting. I completely forgot. Spend your whole life reading very dry documents, which are devoid of adverbs, devoid of adjectives. Every sentence is just subject, verb, object. When if you spend your whole life reading very dry documents, which are devoid of adverbs, devoid of adjectives, every sentence is just subject, verb, object. When that's the stuff of your mental imagination. The writing can't but deteriorate. That's why lawyers are notoriously horrible writers, because all they're reading are briefs. All they're reading are briefs.
I have to tell you, I did find the book's writing to be different. Watch so many of your interviews, and I'm sure many of our listeners do as well. And you've written all these books, and it's rare that someone asks you a question about them. So let's have, yeah, because people aren't reading them. But okay, so this book, The Rise and Fall of Palestine, it documents what you witnessed living in the West Bank for several months and so during that time, that's when the first Intifada was underway. And in 1989, when you first went there, that is one of the things I feel like when I watch so many of your interviews, and I'm sure many of our listeners do as well. And you've written all these books, and it's rare that someone asks you a question about them. So let's have, yeah, because people aren't reading them. But okay, so this book, The Rise and Fall of Palestine, it documents what you witnessed living in the West Bank for several months over the course of a few years. So over a few years, you went back, I think, for a month each time.
3 weeks.
Okay, and so during that time, that's when the first Intifada was underway. And in 1989, when you first went there, you would have been 36 years old, I think, and which is how old I am now. And I was thinking, I'm not currently entertaining the idea of an extended stay in the West Bank. So what led you at my age to go to the other side of the world to witness an uprising?
Well, it was a quite heroic episode of nonviolent civil resistance. So that in itself was had its appeal. And since I had spent already several years studying the Israel-Palestine conflict, and this at the time, it did seem like a turning point. There did seem to be real possibility that the Palestinians would achieve their goal in November 1988 in Algiers, Yasser Arafat, who was the head of the PLO back then, the Palestine Liberation Organization, he did declare in favor of a Palestinian state beside the state of Israel. And that seemed at the time to be a realistic prospect. So it was a historic moment. So I would have been derelict, not to mention stupid, if I didn't wish to experience that historic moment.
I guess you went there and there was some understanding that you would write something about it.
Well, it wasn't my understanding, but it was certainly the understanding of the people. I stayed with the Palestinian families, and it was certainly their understanding that I wasn't coming as a tourist, and they were reciprocating as a hotel, that I was there with political intentions in mind, and they were very generous in their time, their space, and everything else in trying to enable me to get as much information as possible.
Yeah, I guess officially your designation was as a human rights observer on behalf.
Yeah, it was called Eyewitness Israel, and it was the Arab American anti.
Yeah, I don't know what this issue is here, guys. I've not been talking, but I'm just trying to write these things down. Yeah, I don't know why. Is this an internet issue then? I don't know. So I'm using my data on my phone. The reason I paid for the StreamYard is because I thought it feels weird just sitting saying nothing in between and stuff
Discrimination Committee,
on YouTube.
APC it was called,
You know,
which was
more so what they're doing
organizing trips in which people lived with families and could document the human rights abuses.
Right.
Upload speed.
Yeah,
like
and so I mean,
5
lots
megabytes
really
or
interesting,
something.
lots of little interesting anecdotes in the book, and very, as I said at the beginning, quite
7.
understated in how you wrote about it.
7.5.
I mean, you
And
briefly
24
mentioned
makes
that
down. I don't understand.
when you first tried to enter Israel, you were rejected, and you kind of offhandedly say, you know, you were told by the State Department that you were the first Jew to not be allowed to enter Israel, but then you ended up going by way of Jordan, I think.
No. Technically, at that point, Israel was still technically at war with Jordan, so they had the right to block entry at the Allenby Bridge. So a very rich Jordanian then paid for me to go through Ben Gurion Airport. And at that point, Ben Gurion Airport, there were no grounds to deny me entry.
Oh, I see. So initially you were trying to go in by way of Jordan. Right. And another, so I mean, just to give another example of the kind of thing that appears in the book, you know,
cool.
when you first
I'm gonna
go
look
there and
this
you're
up
staying with...
and have a look at this internet thing a bit more, but yeah. Take this as another extremely slow, dry step into doing this shit properly. So yeah. I don't want to say like and subscribe because that's terrible, but anyway, catch you soon. Thank you if you did watch. I mean, sorry if you did, I guess.